say I give you 5 dates today, okay, and then today later on, you give me 6 dates. Is that okay? That's riba.
No, but that's what you do in business also. When you run a business and I'm buying something from you, you always get some kind of profit on it.
So the key would be if...
So what is profit and what is...
Yeah, so the key is that if I give you 5 dates and I want 6 dates back, that's riba. If I say I give you 5 dates, you give me $6 back even though I paid $5, that's acceptable. That's profit, right? The key is that it's 2 different things. Okay. That's the key. That the profit is not you give me more dates. The profit can be that, I paid this amount, you're going to pay me more. Okay. Okay, that we'll get to. That we're going simple by step-by-step building on it. Understand it so far?
Then what is profit?
So profit is...
What if I'm dealing with dates? That's the only thing I have.
5 for 5.
Right.
Yeah.
But what if you're running a business?
Meaning, so you would trade for something else. So for example, this person I negotiate, I'll say I'll give you 5 dates for 1 bag of rice. That person, 5 dates for 2 bags of rice. That's negotiation. That's perfectly fine. That's profit. Okay. See what we're saying? But if it's dates for dates, 5 for 5. Okay. What do you think?
Why would you want to get 5 dates and get 5 bags?
Yeah, this is the point that Dawood was making. If you think of it in the context of a loan, right? That I'm giving you 5 dates, you give me back 0, that's sadaqah. You give me back 1, 2, 3, 4, potentially that's sadaqah. You give me back 5, that's fine. But if I give you 5, you give me back 6 or more, then nay.
So what if I'm running a business loan, giving business?
Yeah, we're saying that you have to change. You can.
Like the bank, that's what they do.
Okay, and that's the issue that we're wrestling with. Yeah.
Either riba is something that triple or 4 times.
So.
Versus if I'm just doing one is or something, then it would be
Okay.
a business.
So we have ayahs in Ali Imran that takes riba further, right? Don't do riba where it's compounding, triple, everything like that, like what you're saying. But that does not exclude, just looking at the definition of the term, does not exclude 1 increase. See what we're saying? It's still an increase, meaning that's the key principle so far. And so the second principle is essentially charity is the opposite of riba. Now think about what is charity. Someone is coming to me with need and I'm helping them. So the principle here is if someone's coming to with need, with riba, I'm taking advantage of them. Okay. Good. I'm sorry?
The practice is bad.
Yeah, so you're taking advantage of their need. Yeah, that's the key thing in terms of the basic principle. You can try, and then I'll probably say we'll get to it later, but go ahead. He said, can I make it more and more complicated? This is business. Yeah.
Some of the ulama in the West have said that the current loan system is not riba because it is a competitive market. In other words, there are so many lenders you can choose. Nobody's forcing you. In olden times, it'd be 1 person, 2 people that they would force you to say, well, you deal with me or you don't get the loan. Now you can go online and find hundreds of people who will give you the loan.
Okay. We can try to see if we'll get into that. Okay, yeah.
With this housing market down, so many people went bankrupt.
Okay.
Khalas. So now the banks are the ones suffering with the money who lend it.
Okay.
That the people who got the money, they are up. I mean, all they will have to do is declare bankruptcy.
Okay. Well, the key issue being that it's a different system here. Yeah.
Yeah, the system is different, but what I'm saying that it's not riba or not riba because
Well, the key point what I'm saying is that we have to be cautious about saying riba is the same as interest, or even riba is the same as usury.
there are the differences.
Yeah, we'll try to make a little bit of sense. Yeah, I think it's easier to talk about gender, but okay, keep going.
So what's wrong with trading 10 low quality for 7 high quality?
So this goes back to the example back then. This can work a few ways, right? It's easy to measure what is one date, right? But then, can't escape riba on this one. Yeah. This happens, this happens to me. It happens to me in the masjid. Yep. So the key. So how do we agree? Like, whose are the significantly better quality, lower quality? The suggestion or the instruction is that you take your something else. If you want my dates, buy them using a different medium, not dates. So sell them for apples, and they use apples to buy my dates. Okay.
So I mean, you can't do the straight up trade because there's no.
So do 5 for 5, essentially. That's what we're being said. That's what we're being told. Yeah, which would apply more essentially in a loan situation. But yeah.
I mean, what's wrong with the more quality?
So essentially, this is the principle. The principle is that you can't.
Because we're still a step.
Yeah.
Very specific principle in the outline.
Yeah. So
Well, I was going to say, I guess the issue is he's saying it's wrong. He doesn't say why. I just needed to infer that.
Well, the
Yeah.
implication in that particular transaction is that you may not know the inherent quality of the value.
this is the point that I'm raising, that it would become a debatable point, or you might not really know.
And so you let the free, I mean, this is whatever, you let the free market decide by saying, I'll go to the market, sell it for whatever I can, and then we'll come back and trade it, and that sort of will prove the value of the dates as opposed to somebody claiming it and you maybe believing it or maybe not.
What do you think, Mohammed? You see the point? I mean, the key point being that you can't really define the quality.
What if you even stick to dates or clothes with the, suppose they like the low quality as opposed to the high quality. They want the low quality.
Okay, the principle's still the same. Yeah, yeah. It's like saying, okay, what if
Like
Expensive clothes, but low
Sure.
expense clothes is what I like.
Sure.
So you can't trade it, riba.
So essentially, yeah, that's what we're saying. Meaning, clothes would not be a tradable thing, but suppose you give me 5 dates, and I want to give you 10 dates, right? I can't. Yeah. I think, oh, you're such a nice person. Here's 20 dates. You gave me 5. I can't.
Why can't it be
Then you give 5, finish the transaction, and then you give sadaqah. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the next principle again is look at riba as the opposite of sadaqah. And then secondary from there, this idea that a system in which you have sadaqah, Allah Ta'ala will give life to it. He will cause increase to it. If it is using riba, Allah Ta'ala is going to suck the life away from it. Well, that's not the right language. Okay. Continuing that point, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَأَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. So those people who believe and do right and establish salah and give zakah, they will have their reward with their Lord, and they need have no fear nor shall they grieve. What is the key point here? Emphasizing do good, do good, do good. Good. Now 278 and 279, it gets scarier. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. O you who believe, ittaqullah, so have taqwa of Allah, and what? Give up of what remains of riba. Okay. If you are believers. So if you're in a riba transaction, if you're in a riba system, or you have contracts collecting riba, give it up. Okay. And then look at 279. If you do not, then listen to a declaration of war. Listen to war from Allah and His Messenger. Okay. I don't know of anything in the Quran that has this language. Okay. That if you are not giving up riba, it's a declaration of war from Allah and His Messenger, which means by extension the whole ummah. Okay. If, however, وَإِن تُبْتُمْ, so if you do tawbah, if you repent, then you can keep your capital, you can keep your principal. Okay. Do not do wrong, and do not be wronged. لَا تَظْلِمُونَ وَلَا تُظْلَمُونَ. Okay. So the point is that, yeah, if I want to participate in a riba transaction where I'm the one who's paying the riba, don't do it. So, 280, this goes more into general loans, not just matters of riba. Okay. If there is someone who is in difficulty, then the person who is giving the loan should give them some time, should give them ease. Okay. And it's even better for you if you just make it sadaqah. Okay. So, bringing this back to riba. I don't think there's other immediate principles here. Okay, 282 will be another fun discussion. Okay. How do we then apply it or make sense of it in our society here? So there's a teaching attributed to Omar, may Allah be pleased with him, where he says that the Prophet left us without giving us enough information about riba, or we don't have enough understanding of riba. So what was Omar's instruction? Give up, his words was give up riba and riba. And how is that understood? Give up riba and anything that looks like riba. Okay. And so then from there, what is the common argument? That in our society, that even though I'm saying I don't think interest is the same as riba, that I, for example, try to avoid doing anything that involves anything interest, at least directly. But here's the next level of problems. Okay, so you get a car. Okay, suppose you get a car from 0% financing. Right, I think all of my cars have been 0% financing except for the first one, which was leased. So, what happens when you're getting a car on 0% financing? They raise the price, right? So if it's
Islamic.
essentially, so the point is, if you're getting a car, let's say it's a $20,000 car, if you're going to pay cash, if you're going to do 0% financing, it's not a $20,000 car anymore. It's a $22,000 car. Right, and so I had this conversation with this Muslim guy who is a banker for the World Bank. I asked him, okay, tell me what is Islamic finance? Yeah. And he said the stuff that they call Islamic finance, all it is semantics, meaning the interest is here rather than over here, or they'll just give it some Arabic name. Yeah, yeah. Sorry?
They call it markup.
Markup and all those things, markup, profit, all those things. And he says, as far as he's concerned, everything that he's seen that's so-called Islamic finance is just taking a regular transaction and just moving the interest here or there, right? So I'm saying this is also part of the problem. Okay? That my contract, 0% financing, I can say is legitimately, from a fiqh perspective, legitimately okay. Okay? But the transaction is still the same. I'm still paying the same amount, and I might even be in worse shape. So if I do 2% financing, and I pay it off half the time, so instead of a 5-year loan, let's say I pay it off in 2 years, then there's so much interest I didn't have to pay. You see what I'm saying? That your interest is being added each month, and so if you pay it off early, you're actually going to pay less. Okay. If you do 0% financing, it doesn't matter if you pay off after 1 month or after 5 years. Okay. Should that make a difference? Maybe, maybe not. The key point that I'm making is that it's the markup is happening no matter what. Okay. So with a car, it might be $2,000, $1,000, $5,000. With a house, it's 100 grand, 200 grand, 300 grand, 400 grand, right? And so that's the dilemma. Go.
Yeah, but I think that's part of the ayah sort of above, where sales is acceptable.
Okay. Okay. So to make the point, I don't understand the whole point that you're making.
If the transaction is based on, well, I'm gonna sell you a $20,000 car.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna charge you $22,000 for it.
Yeah.
Because the interest rate is 5%. Well, the whole this is taking the assumption that riba is the same as interest.
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
But because the contract is worded that way, that makes it riba. But if you say this is a $20,000 car, I'm going to sell it to you for $22,000, so that say that this is it's going to that $22,000 is going to be split over X number of months. There's no reference to interest rate in that.
Yeah. No, I'm saying from a basic fiqh perspective, my contract is completely legitimate. What I'm saying is, in terms of the whole issue of purchasing a car, that on paper, there's no interest, there's no theoretically riba, right? Yet, in the same transaction, if I said not 0% financing, give me 2.9% financing, then the cost of the car is going to be different, right?
But you end up paying.
I'm suggesting that it may not be the case. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're paying early in terms of the payment system,
Yes,
but
in that case, you're able to take advantage of the system because you have an
yeah.
One of the differences from a design point of view goes to the nature of loss and profit in a business sense, is you can enter into a transaction like that. From a design point of view, let's say you paid off 80% of the car,
Okay.
default, you still own 80% of that car. 20% is owned by whoever and giving you the sale and allowing you to have return.
And you're saying here,
But here, you default, whether you paid off 99% of your house, you default, it all goes to the bank in a wholly un-Islamic manner compared to what we use.
that would be another aspect of it. Yeah.
But if you look at it complicated even more, way more.
I think you're joyfully hoping to do it. But first, let's go to Uncle.
It gets really complicated. There is historically there's a precedent in Islam for time value of money. Time that something in the future is worth less than something in the present that doesn't exist in Islam. And so a lot of fuqaha, can't mention the one here, you told me how to say it, but we'll say, for example, the fuqaha in London took a long time ago in the 70s that you were allowed to take a conventional mortgage to buy a house. And their logic was it is worse to have Muslims congregating in poverty in a slum living day to day than to actually be landowners and have current benefits that occur. Because of that, I've heard scholars here that say that they have now become in a much better situation, those who actually took the loans, where they've got, and they'll use the analogy that look, they've got government, parliament, they've got their own people, they've got their own auditors. And they didn't allow that here in the United States, and look at where we are. So that's their argument. I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying the fuqaha now have sort of relaxed that, saying if you know your contract ahead of time, and it's something that's competitive, you can get multiple people bidding to give you that money, and it benefits you to the point where I've heard, again, fuqaha say, take a loan out of the school, take a loan out of the house. If it's going to help benefit you, and that's going to benefit the community, that's a better, greater response. They're allowing that. Now, remember, then you're coming out public yet. So that'll create a floodgate of problems.
So to put Keisha's point in simple English, suppose we argue that riba is interest, right? And we're essentially saying that a lot of these transactions you can't do. There is also a principle in fiqh, darura, same word as zaruri, darura, that on some matters that are sort of life matters, that you have exceptions. So meaning, for example, if you have no food and all you have is pork, then what do? You eat pork. You're not eating pork out of the joy of eating pork or anything, but you're eating it for purposes of survival or stability. And so from that, you do find scholars who will argue that interest is riba, but if you're getting a mortgage on your house, car, student loan, then that is an acceptable exception, right? Those types of transactions. Tell us more. So the idea being that if you don't do this, then you'll be causing yourself more difficulty, right? And the point being that you're giving yourself stability as a principle in terms of. Yeah, that'll. Of course, yeah. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, this would be part of the deliberation, right? You know, that okay for my exception, I need a Mercedes SUV. Yeah. Yeah, but Islamic finance is a great business to be in right now. Yeah. Yeah.
Some of the modern ulama, Islamic finance,
Yeah. Yeah. If you want to go into Islamic finance as your field, yeah, golden ticket. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Then they started saying basically that for the Muslim Jew, it also for the Jew, for the Jew cannot really interest. Another they have a system. He says the father sees the contract of the house, he says no, when the son comes, the time of the tax, give me how much interest I'm paying so I can get it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is part of the issue that if I get a so-called Islamic loan that has no interest, still I can write off my interest on taxes. Yeah. And that's the point being that I've not come across any satisfactory answers on this. Yeah. And so what I'm saying is that I very aggressively try to make everything that I do 0% financing. Right. But I think we have a long way to go on figuring out what is riba and how to make these.
I mean, have you looked at this way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to heal?
Mm-hmm.
Because Allah also that the one who is born because the person is not available for giving that.
Mm-hmm.
The whole point here I look at is the problem Allah wants your life easy.
Sure.
And we have to do certain things. For example, here, by home, by car, home. If you go like Islamic way, then I think the choice there is like once you pay this much, with the eventually 40,000 cars, you're paying 20,000. Versus here, if I take a loan for $20,000 and I try to pay eternally. So that's why I think I'm benefiting and making my life and going with that and paying insurance. I mean, I look at that. This thing in that easy. And in that way, what your philosophy is.
Yeah, I don't have an answer. I'm sorry. It's that one. I went through what was available as all these so-called Islamic finances back then, and at that time, the first one that was certified to sell in Illinois was La Riba, and then they gave us the forms, and they were standard mortgage forms, and there was one sheet that had no legal value that says this is not interest because Muslims don't believe in interest. Sign, right? But all the paperwork was literally standard mortgage paperwork, and they gave this whole advertisement. I forgot what they call it, Ronsi. Each time you pay rent, you own a little bit more of the house, so the next month your rent is a little bit less. Next month your rent is a little bit less. Okay, they didn't do any of that. It was a standard mortgage from start to finish. So this is bizarre. So, yeah.
There is a lot of things that we go out of our way to please Allah and to solve rules that would put us in difficulty.
Okay.
Like, for example, rule means that we have needs.
Okay.
You pay more for that. You go out of your way to try to get it. It puts
Okay.
yourself in difficulty if you're in a restaurant you can't
Okay.
or fasting in Ramadan. There's nothing easy about that.
Okay.
So for Allah's sake, comply with His, commandments. There's a lot of times where we put ourselves in,
Yeah, this would be two different answers. So if I am someone who, on my own or in my family's capacity, my goal is that I'm going to serve Allah as best as I can, then the riba question becomes, okay, well, what type of lifestyle do you want? Right? Then you work accordingly. However, if we're speaking as someone who is giving an answer for a whole community, what will give stability and benefit to the community, then the answer is going to be different. That's the challenge. That for me as the individual, a lot of these things that I might be aspiring to go very high in my deen, which means essentially my rules are more strict, right? But for the whole community, to make it something the community can practice, that's where you get the question of the fuqaha and such. And I'm saying, having gone through however much research I haven't found really actually satisfactory answers. Yeah.
I would go beyond that. I would think that as far as fasting during Ramadan or eating alone, it's more or less kind of dry. Whereas this is an area where even, like I said, the system's not the same. But beyond that, a lot of people don't understand the system.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people will say you get at 0.65 interest on your bank account.
Okay.
But the true nature is you're getting 0.65 and the consumer price index, which is the rate of inflation, is at 2%. If you're actually losing money, it's not more money. You can't comprehend that. I think that's the reason why there's a little bit of disconnect with, because people don't understand the system.
That's
It's a very complicated system. It's really good
Yeah.
stuff and definitely riba based, but
sorry.
It depends on inconvenience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
And the necessities.
Yeah, sure.
Insurance, education, all things. Also, many of those things come with the low interest rate.
Mhm.
Point. There will be, mainly farmer, some of the give the loans at 2.5%.
Mm-hmm.
Some people usually do not use, some people do not have, not worth it. So that is. On the other hand, even in India now there are some kind of unions and they are charging 10%, 15% as a administration cost. And they now pay some things. So instead of saying yes, that is the issue that you can't live in modern society. Or even if you are not having, you have a bank account, even if you are not having, just working home. There are millions in Canada alone who are sitting in the bank
Mm-hmm.
as charity, and that's used against us.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very difficult.
Yeah. So to repeat it for the
Nobody is going back to live under the
yeah, right. Yeah, right. So to has not. Musaffar, I think, has been resolved, but I'm saying that in my understanding, it has not been resolved. No.
there are a lot of scholars who don't. The reason is the system has changed so rapidly, there's a lot of scholars who don't even understand the system. So 20 years ago, we were talking to a high-level scholar who didn't know that the U.S. dollar had dissociated from the gold standard in 1934. And when he was told that, and he said, oh, that makes a huge difference in the way you perceive what's called interest.
So see what else we're saying? That the American economy as it is only a couple decades old, right? It'd be one thing if it was 300 years old, and we say, gosh, what's taking so long? It's still a very, very new economy the way things are structured. But yeah, as I'm saying, I have not come across satisfactory answers in terms of, riba versus interest and all those things. So my approach has been, stay away. But I mean, it's I've been able to do it. But again, that's an individual choice. For a scholar speaking for the whole community, then the answer is different. And then some of the points that Uncle was mentioning was that if you look at it then at the wider perspective, the concern really becomes that other people then start cashing in on it. right? Cashing in on our ignorance of the system, and then other people take advantage of it. Yeah, so this point about the time value of money, that if I give you a loan for $100 and you pay me back in 10 years, $100, is that proper? Or do you pay me what $100 is worth? Right. So the point is that with cash from an economic perspective is not the same as, dates. And so again, I'm saying I haven't found satisfactory answers in studying as much as I could. This is the issue here. They had everything. So they had coins. Meaning they had gold, silver coins, dirhams, dinars, right? But their economic system also involved trading animals for animals, right? Trading, like long-lasting food.
Inherent value, though. Whereas now, most of the 60-something U.S. coins are not of an inherent value. They're all back because they're backed by the government. That's an inherent value. Before the coins were worth the value because they were gold or silver, they could be melted and moved.
Yeah.
U.S. denominations aren't like that. Obviously, paper's not. Even the coins are not.
If you melt a penny, it's worth less than a penny.
Actually, yeah, now it's not even copper.
Yeah, it's probably actually worth more. Yeah.
No, it's not because it's not copper.
It's like zinc and all those things. Yeah.
Inside it's nickel or alloy.
Yeah. Good. Sorry. Okay. Good. Yeah.
This is a kind of thing in the system which is very different, radically.
Yeah, that's the key point. Okay. I think we might actually be finishing Al-Baqarah today, depending upon the conversation we're about to have. Okay, so again, ayah 281, وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا تُرْجَعُونَ فِيهِ إِلَى اللَّهِ. So have taqwa on the day that you will be returning in it to Allah. Okay. And then everyone essentially who has died will be paid whatever it is that he or she has earned, and they will not be done any wrong. Then we come to ayah 282. I wonder if I should postpone this till next week. Okay, we'll get into the fun. Okay, 282, longest ayah of the entire Quran. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who believe, when you transact a debt payable at a specific time, so when you're giving a loan, number one, put it in writing. Okay. And get a scribe, write it between you, write it for you with fairness. Okay. The scribe should not refuse to write as Allah Ta'ala has educated him. He therefore should write. Okay, next, one who owes something should get it written, but he must fear his Lord. He must have taqwa of Allah, and he should not omit anything from it. So do not skip any details. Write all the details. If the one who owes is feeble-minded or weak or cannot dictate himself, then a guardian should dictate with fairness. Okay. So what else is that saying? Make sure you're not in a position to take advantage of the other person. Good. So have two witnesses from among your men, and then we'll go to the end of the ayah. Okay, have two witnesses from among your men, and if two men are not there, then one man and two women from those whose witnesses whom you like, so that if one of the two women errs, the other woman may remind her. Yeah, I think we should postpone this discussion to next week. Yeah.
It makes perfect, no, but it makes perfect.
Okay, well, we'll finish the ayah. We'll finish the ayah.
So
Okay.
there's nothing to dispute with.
Okay. It's going to be a fun discussion, inshallah. All right. Okay, but in all seriousness, the witness should not be refused when summoned, and do not be wary of writing it down along with his due date, no matter whether the debt is small or large. That is more equitable in Allah's sight and more supportive as evidence, and more likely to make you free of doubt. However, if it is a spot transaction you are effecting between yourselves, there's no sin on you if you do not write it. Have witnesses when you transact a sale. Neither a scribe should be made to suffer nor a witness. If you do something harmful, it is a sin on your part, and then have taqwa of Allah. Allah educates you, and Allah is all-knowing in respect of everything. So the key part of the ayah is if you're having a debt, write it down with witnesses. But I don't think there's anything else of confusion. Okay, so fire away.
No, I think this makes perfect sense to me that this ayah was effective.
Okay.
Because it's easy, there's no doubt about it that women can be intimidated.
Okay.
And to protect them and to make sure that in an environment where maybe they are not used to it,
Okay.
we're not talking just about lawyers, but
Okay.
common women, then it's a good idea to have a partner so there are witnesses.
Okay.
Versus a man, male, they cannot be intimidated or pressured into giving a false.
Okay.
So I think that makes sense.
Any thoughts? Howdy?
Man can be intimidated.
Okay. So you're saying you don't buy the argument? You're saying you don't buy this argument?
Yeah, I'll have to find a better reason for it. I don't buy it.
He said, I agree with her, men can be intimidated.
I don't think so that, that anybody can intimidate.
Yeah, why is that?
Yeah, no, it's not that. You have to figure out why. Somebody, they may be not educated at that time or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
I can see him not an education and not an exposure.
Okay.
I can see it.
Okay. So you're saying essentially it might be relevant for some societies.
For some-
Okay. Yeah, Muhammad.
Going away from the gender issue, without reading the tafsir, I would say this is probably the longest ayah because maybe at that time there was a lot of corruption.
Interesting. Yeah. So they needed to have as much detail as possible. Yeah, I think it's pretty insightful. Yeah.
Just only for contractual business.
I've always understood this for loans. I don't think this rules out contractual businesses, but
Because then I wonder how, when someone was looking for how
that would be long before this. That would have been, a decade prior to this. Yeah. Meaning, yeah, this is Madani. Yeah, and Khadija radiallahu anha dies early on. Yeah. That's true. That's true. Yeah, that he was probably actually fulfilling it anyway. Yeah. I'm not aware, but I wouldn't be surprised if there is. Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, in a simple nutshell, is the Quran for all times? Okay. So the point here is that this method of contract will work in every environment, right? Good. So that's point number one. That we would say that it definitely works in some environment and may not be necessary or relevant in other environments, but we can say it works in every environment. Okay, that's the first point so far. Okay. The second point is that, again, in terms of Islamic law, matters of ibadah versus matters of social interaction, mu'amalat, mu'asharat. Matters of ibadah, you try your best not to change anything. You follow the letter of the law. Matters of mu'amalat, mu'asharat, meaning social interaction, business transactions, it's a negotiation between the text and what your normal practices are in your society. Okay. So if you have an established practice in your society that works, that's not haram, okay, that might be your default. Okay. So let me give you an example. This is saying if you're taking out a loan, okay, then you should have it all written out. This is better for you, have witnesses. But today in 2014, tonight, I can go online. I can take out a loan that doesn't even involve a human on the other side, right? And definitely doesn't involve witnesses. Okay. Is that legal as an Islamic loan? And let's say there's no interest even. Okay. Yeah, meaning from a fiqh perspective, it's a legal loan. Okay. Because that's a normal established practice. I'll give you a different example. That if I'm buying something, I have to give the money to the owner, okay, before I can use it, before it's mine. If I go to a gas station, how do I pay? I stick a card in the machine. There's no human on the other side. But that is a standard established practice right now in our society. So from a fiqh perspective, that's legitimate. That's sound.
But
Okay.
there is a receipt, that's your,
Sorry?
the receipt is your contract that you bought gas and you paid them.
But the point is that the business transaction should be between two people. Here it's me and a machine, right? Unless I consider a corporation a person, right? And so the argument being that this is a prescription that works in every society. But if you're in a society, okay, where it's your normal process that you have witnesses, a man and woman's witness is of the same value, and that's your default, then more often than not, that's acceptable. See what we're saying? That what the Quran is giving you is something that will work in every society, every culture. Okay. And we'll say, well, we wish that it was, one man, one woman, and that's fine, but then that approach is not going to work for many societies throughout the world, throughout history. This is going to work in every society.
No, it's important, I think, that the position of women at the time generally was not very good. So the fact that a woman...
So this is elevating the situation. Yeah.
This is very important.
Yeah, I think it's a very important point. Yeah. Absolutely. Meaning, what's the recurring theme in this ayah? You're making sure people are not taken advantage of. Okay. So the person who's taking out a loan is not being taken advantage of. The person who is witnessing is not being taken advantage of. That's the repeated theme here. So the whole thread that we've been looking at today, riba, and then this, the key point is to make sure that people in their business transactions are not being taken advantage of. Yeah.
Came out with, the concept is quite progressive because it applied what we consider standard contractual law.
Yeah.
Written
I
contractual
think this is amazing because it's so modern.
to
Yeah.
everybody, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
for us, it doesn't seem like anything amazing.
Yeah.
In that time, and certainly in times prior to that, there would only be written contracts between people who were sort of high nobility or royalty. And the common person, if they were having an interaction with somebody who was of a higher status than them, they would often take that person's word, the higher status person's word for the contract. And that's...
Yeah, they can take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take advantage.
Yeah, I mean, notice this, there's no mention, it's no surprise for us, there's no mention that if you're dealing with Muslims, okay? Saying if you are a Muslim, regardless of who you're having a transaction with, this is what you have to do. So again, what is the overall thread we're talking about? Is to make sure in your business transactions people are not taken advantage of. That's the central point here. But it may be, in a particular culture, you have a method of transaction where it's looked at as fair, nothing haram is happening. And then often you can take that as your default, which is something that we do daily. You know. So that's the point. So it's not so much that this is favoring men or women, this is giving you an approach that will work in every single society.
So based on what you said, so where you draw the line, for example, in Pakistan or Afghanistan, it is very common to pay bribery in order to get me in debt.
Yeah, so you'll literally find, so the question, like in terms of bribery, you'll literally find scholars who say that, okay, you can't do anything without bribery. So this is almost like they'd call it kafara, like, that it's a necessary evil that you just have to do, right? That you can't literally do anything without bribery. And so that's literally what you'll find. So, okay. Meaning that would be, a bribery would be a haram, but you have no choice. So, okay. to finish off this point, and then next week we'll do Ayah 284 and 285. So finishing off the point on the contract to make sure the dealings are fair. If you are on a journey and you cannot find anyone to write it down, okay. Notice the word here is mortgage. Okay. Then what do? You give some collateral. Okay. However, if one of you trusts the other, then the one who has been trusted should fulfill his trust and should fear Allah, should have taqwa of Allah, his Rabb. Do not hide testimony. Whoever conceals it, his heart is surely sinful. Allah is aware of what you do. So, if you're in a position, have a contract. If you're not, for example, if you're on a journey, then give them something to hold on to, or give them your word. Okay? And fulfill your trust. Okay, next week, inshallah, we will finish Al-Baqarah with the final 2 ayahs of Al-Baqarah. Well, 3. SubhanAllah. 3 ayahs, yeah. Any last questions or thoughts? Okay. So I don't know if we actually accomplished anything, But no, the key point we're making is that in terms of riba, I think there's a lot more work that has to be done. But the essence, this does remind me, the essence we said of the business transaction is that people have to be treated fairly. So one of the moves in America among Islamic scholars talking about riba is they're focusing not on the details of the mechanics of the transaction, but looking at the ethics of the transaction. Okay, meaning what type of transaction in America is ethically fair. Okay, that's one of the moves that you see, and we'll see how that goes. Which also means there's some types of transactions you can't do at all, some type of businesses you can't get involved with, but then what is ethically fair in terms of an American environment? And we'll see how this goes, but I think we're still a long way away from having answers to those questions. Well, we'll finish Al-Baqarah next week, inshallah. So I think we're done forever.
Can't tell one surah without the next one.
Oh, really? They have to come in pairs, right? MashaAllah, yeah. Okay. So we'll meet on February 7th, inshallah, and we'll see after that. But I will definitely not have class on the 21st. 21st I won't have class. But we'll have to see about the 14th. Maybe we'll take a day off. 21st, definitely no class, inshallah. Okay. I have to be here anyway for the young people class on the other Fridays, though. Okay, subhanakallahumma bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Okay, may Allah tell everybody you all. Wa akhir da'wana an alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.